Hi, my name is Lisa Arlen, and this is my personal message to the government, Part 3. I myself have 3 children, ages 21, 18, and 12. So therefore, I have such personal knowledge or experience dealing with the Ministry for Children and Families and the child protection system in British Columbia. I believe that if there is a concern that a child is at risk in a parent's care, that the social worker needs to do more than just come by for a visit. I believe that if there are concerns, a thorough investigation is appropriate. And I also do believe that if the child is in need of protection, that the courts would determine it, not just the social worker, and that those concerns ought to be specific with the evidence presented, not just based on hearsay. Because anyone can say that the parent is incapable, is not looking after the child properly, because it is simply out of spite. And I don't think that since the Act has ignored parents' rights, offers parents any protection against false allegations made. And if there are false allegations made against the parent, or the Ministry for Children and Families fabricates evidence before the court to justify a court removal or to justify their actions, where does that leave the parent? The Ministry for Children and Families has too much statutory power, and parents are abused because of the courts or because the social worker abuses their power. And it is difficult to prove once a social worker does become involved. They can say that you are mentally handicapped, you are incapable of parenting a child, and that is without having a psychological assessment or any concrete evidence via focal evidence. And even if you do have an assessment, it's still not a guarantee that the courts will consider that. And I think that the Act needs to protect parents' rights, and social workers need to be made accountable because they're just not. And I believe that it's really a sad situation, because if someone does make allegations against a parent out of spite, that child goes through so much distress being separated from their parents. That child is caused harm, and it's very difficult for parents to get the child back. And when they do get the child back, It's just not the same for the child. And I don't think that it is right that the social worker has too much power, as much as they do, because, for example, a parent goes through dealing with proving that these allegations were false, and you usually have to wait up to 2 years to present your case. And since the Act proclaims that the Ministry for Children and Families has the child's best interest, I don't see that it does. For example, children go through home after foster home after foster home, being bounced around like that. They get separated from their siblings, and then they go through that nightmare, and what's more, a roller coaster of visits. What the ministry says is reasonable access, they mean once a week or twice a week. You're not allowed to see your children on Christmas or holidays. And I do not think that is in child's best interest to have such limited access. And when this happens, it is not in the child's best interest. And I believe that the government needs to do something about that, instead of just turning a blind eye. Because children are suffering because of some of the principles of Child Family Community Services Act, and because of the Ministry for Children and Families. And like I said, it's really difficult because parents are treated like criminals because they have had concerns made against them. And when they're false, that's totally not fair. It's a system that is failing BC families. And the complaints process is just not working. There is nowhere parents can go to get support. There is nowhere that they can rely on to protect their rights, and they go through court on a never-ending losing battle, and parents have to go through this, and so do the children. And there have been ample evidence, specific cases after cases where there have been false allegations made against parents. There have been cases after cases and specific evidence where the Ministry for Children and Families has fabricated evidence, and families continue to suffer, and that's just wrong. I ask the government, when are they going to amend the Child Family Community Services Act? When is the government going to seriously review the Act